So what's your algorithm? What do you get?
My algorithm, I've got to quit the internet. I've got to quit it. It's like too much, it's too much of yourself.
It's all you're feeding. It's feeding.
There's
back
not
into you.
enough bakeries, and there's too much of me.
You need to block yourself.
I've got to.
You need to filter yourself out.
Quit that.
More Mitski, less Paul.
Anything else other than me, I take at this point.
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, sad, confused begins now.
I'm Josh Horowitz, and today on Happy, Sad, Confused, Paul Mescal is here. This has been a long time coming. Here we are after an exhaustive Gladiator II press tour that's included hot wings and puppies. Finally.
And now Happy, Sad, Confused.
I mean, this is the ultimate test for you,
This
man.
is the ultimate. This is the final boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this, man.
No, it's really excited, genuinely excited to be on. Yeah.
So, thanks, man. So talk to me a little bit about how are you not a shell of a man? Because I saw you a couple days ago.
Firmly a shell of a man. Let's open there. I'm like, I'm
not all there, man.
What's my name? No, I'm good. It's just like, haven't done something like this before.
Yes.
But we've been like, we've just been super well looked after. But even with that, it's like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of like seeing your big old face everywhere and sound of your own voice. But
Are you sick of yourself a little bit?
Oh, fully.
If you weren't, that would be worrisome.
Oh my God, absolutely. I don't know how people do this consistently.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
yeah.
I have been watching a lot of the conversations you've been having. As I alluded to, you've been doing kind of lots of fun different things.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is you confronting the uber Paul Mescal fan, competing in trivia and losing to her.
Yes.
Basically.
No, she's amazing. Like, yeah. She knew my life better than I did.
You're a competitive person. Did you take that well?
Do you know what? I didn't take it well, but I tipped my hat to Larissa. Like the better Paul won firmly. Yeah.
It's good to know we have a backup Paul, just in
Exactly.
case.
If it all goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it all goes. So it's like hers to. She can be me.
So I mean, we joke about it, but it's true. I mean, like right now, you're having a crazy moment.
Yeah.
You are legit, as you well know. You know, the footage from Dublin, we were at that premiere together. Like, you're getting a lot of love, a lot of crazy, wonderful energy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reconcile that with 14-year-old Paul inside, who didn't, none of us had that.
Yeah.
I mean, there must be kind of like a surreal doesn't begin to describe that.
It's surreal, and it's like, it's totally surreal. It's like, I've had, even the Oscars wasn't this.
Right.
It was it was a different, and I think the great thing about the Oscars is that it's like a total celebration of film, but it's shared amongst many people. Whereas with this, it's like, this is also shared, but with less people.
Right.
And honestly, it's like, part of me is like, not to say this, but like part of me is like, I wonder if I'm going to pull out of this.
Right.
Because I'm like, nothing on anything else. It's just like, it's a lot of, it's a lot of it. But having said that, it's been, the people that I've been met with like incredible kindness and generosity.
Yeah.
It's more so to do with just the scale of it's just your perception of yourself changes very quickly over a very short period of time.
Well, it's funny, in listening to some past conversations you had, you were talking a lot about how life really changed with normal people.
Yeah.
And to hear you talk back then, a couple years ago even, you were like, yeah, there are degrees, things are a little different now, but the biggest change was that. Now, having gone through this, though, maybe
I think that might be a bit wrong. Like, whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know if I'll fully know that until like
right, need a little perspective.
5-6 months down the line. But I think, as awful as COVID was, now when I look back on it, I'm like thank God
you kind of eased
that
into
I was
fame
like
and all
away from people, because if I'm if I'm struggling with this junction now, having had that experience, I don't know what that would have been like
Right.
at that moment. And this is probably my first time articulating that, but it's a specific skill set that you don't learn. I didn't learn it by proximity to this industry growing up. I didn't grow up in LA, New York, or London. I didn't know I wanted to be an actor until much, like
Right.
it was never on the radar. So there was no part of me learning who's like any other childhood with the kind of desire to be
Yep.
out in the world. But also, you're smart enough to realize that like that's the gig.
Yeah.
You get out in front of the movie and you do your job. But there's a certain tax that comes with that, I think.
So my algorithm, my internet algorithm, is basically serving me a lot of Paul.
Yeah.
Basically, Paul, dog videos, and New York City bakeries. That's what I get in my feed.
I get New York City bakeries.
Do you? I was going to ask you. So what's your algorithm? What do you get?
My algorithm, I just got like I've got to quit the internet. I've got to quit it. It's like too much.
What do you
Like
mean?
it's too much like of yourself.
It's all you're feeding. It's feeding.
There's
back
not
into you.
enough bakeries, and there's too much of me.
You need to block yourself.
I've got to.
You need to filter yourself
fucking
out.
Quit that.
More
quit
Mitski,
it.
less Paul.
Anything else other than me, I take at this point. But like it's. I think it's just the way that algorithms are cursed things.
Are you? And I'm saying this with love. Are you sick of talking about Gladiator? Do you want to talk about something else? What do you want to talk about today? How should we use our time?
I'm happy to have any like. You're a great interviewer. I'm happy to go wherever we. But it's categorically the most I've ever spoken about.
Yeah.
Any film. I think it's the most that anyone has ever spoken about any film. But
what
having
was
said
it like to work with Ridley? What was it really like? I mean, I've asked you that like 3 times,
But
so
like,
I can only imagine.
I can talk. We can do 45 minutes on Ridley. Like
I'm obsessed.
Oh, like, so like that'll never get
Right.
That'll never get tiresome. I have like. It's just a weird. You know when you do this amount of talking, you start feeling like you're becoming disingenuous because you're being asked to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Consistently. So
It's
you end
still
up
the
saying
truth.
it's still the truth.
No, I
but
get
you're
this.
like,
I mean, I have it in such a minute, different level. Like, I'll do multiple Q&As with people,
Yeah.
and I ask the same question, and it's like only in my own head. I'm like,
we got asked a question from another interviewer that you had asked us, like,
At the
and it was
premiere.
actually it was referenced that it was a question that my friend Josh had asked earlier, and I was like, this is like Inception level of press tour. But we like, as I've said to you, it's like Paramount have fully, and not to do the thing of like flying the flag, but they've like really
yeah.
looked after us, and they've done a great job with getting, like, if there's anybody on planet Earth that doesn't know that there's a Gladiator II film coming out, they probably don't have a phone.
It's true. It's true. So before a couple Gladiator 2 things, I do want to mention you're doing SNL soon.
I
man.
am doing SNL.
How do you feel about that? I mean, are you nervous, excited? What's
I'm
your
really
attitude?
both things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of grateful for the fact that I haven't spent the last couple of months knowing about it, sitting in my room being like, what am I going to do? But I've asked lots of my friends who've done it before, and,
Right.
and I think I'm just going to throw myself in there. And the great thing is I don't have a huge amount of time before it starts, so I'll arrive into it like looking forward to actually be able to do some version of the work that I
Right.
that I
Act
love.
for,
Act
which is
for
what
a
you love.
second, Yeah.
Do you bring celebrity impressions? Are you going to do Saoirse, Daisy, Andrew Scott? What do you got?
Do you know, I haven't done no celebrity impressions on the cards as of yet, but
Okay.
I'm waiting to see what. I mean, I'm handing over the ideas, I think, to the great writers that exist there. I have a couple of like ideas about potential sketches, but beyond that, I think it should be best idea wins, and that's their wheelhouse. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little Gladiator. I mean, so
Yeah.
as you approach something like this, which is a ginormous undertaking, but from the great Ridley Scott, how much is fear of failure a motivator for you? Is that, or is that a negative space? You don't want to
No,
act from a
I think
negative
fear of
space.
failure is, or for me at least, it's par for the course. And maybe it's not so much fear of failure, it's fear of this idea where the thing that you love most in the world can always get taken away from you.
Right.
So you want to put your best, and it's not necessary. That's not inextricably tied to just Gladiator II. It's everything you ever. I think if that, I would love to have a little bit less of that. But having said that, the way things have gone in my career in the last 5 or 6 years, it's been a consistent thing. So I don't really want it to disappear too much because it's indicative of something that, in an industry sense, has been working for me.
When does imposter syndrome strike most in something like this? Is it before you even get on set, or once you're in it, you kind of like, okay, this is still just acting? Because it sounds like from our conversations and hearing you talk, it's like maybe the fear was this is going to be a totally different kind of thing, but the reality is like,
and it was in moments, but I think the imposter syndrome thing that actors talk about happens at different junctions for different actors. For me, it's like in the lead up to it, and in the talking about it afterwards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is the talking about it? Because you've seen the movie. You're proud of the movie. You feel so like.
Yeah.
Why?
No. It's more so to do with the fact that you feel somewhat removed from the creative part of it. So you're. I don't know why. That's a good question. I don't know why exactly it's that, but it feels like a more sterile environment. Like you're trying to, no matter how well you can kind of document a story that happened on set, it's nowhere close to the feeling of making it.
Yeah, and there's that itch in the back of your throat, like, am I commodifying? Am I
commodifying? And you're like,
this artistic experience.
I've said this story 1,000 times, so I'm going to say it again in a way that feels like acting, but in a totally like weird context. But my friend Jessie Buckley said something when we were making Hamlet. She was like, and I get it now, where she was, and I couldn't understand it at the time. She was like, wouldn't it be great if just nobody ever saw these things? And it's not meant in the sincere sense. It's just like, nothing is ever as good as the making of it.
Right.
No matter how well something is received, no matter how, like, the preparation process is fun, but the act of making it feels...
and that's why you're doing it. That's
precious. Precious. And I'm like, oh yeah, I fully get that now, because I'm yet to come across, or I've never come across an event in the filmmaking process that I've been accurately able to describe.
Right.
Truly, like I'm able to like describe an event, but I can't get to the root of what the feeling is often.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. Yes, it's that time of year, guys. I know I get that pit in my stomach of how to shop for everybody in my life. So many places to go, so many stores to visit, but the great news is I found it so much less stressful thanks to Uncommon Goods, because they make beautiful, handcrafted products that are customizable, that are unique for everybody and anybody in your life. I've purchased stuff there, like a pet embroidered sweatshirt for a loved one. They've got customizable ornaments, or maybe you want to get custom messages put on shortbread. Things you couldn't even imagine, but they're all such great ideas for different people in your life. Plus, with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, and I really love this, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/podcast/happy-sad. That's uncommongoods.com/podcast/happy-sad for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. So I want to get back to something else you said, like, so that feeling of, oh, I might not be able to get to do this again. And I think that's valid, especially on something like this. You're going to be, like, if this hadn't worked, you would have a career. You'd be fine. You might never get another shot at this kind of a thing, for good or for bad.
Yeah. Well, to be totally honest, it's like this isn't the be all and end all for me. It's like there's very few films that I would want to do on this scale, generally. Ridley Scott makes that so, like makes I think any actor worth their salt want to jump at it.
Yep.
But it's not like getting into Gladiator II has suddenly shifted the goalposts where I'm like, I want to do Gladiator 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. That's just not the case, because that's not. I love making independent films, and like there's like 2 kind of independent films coming out next year, and you know what I mean. It's not.
I do, but on the other hand, this maybe proves to you again, like, oh, you can work on this level and with an artist like Ridley Scott, and it can still feel authentic and grounded,
absolutely,
and rewarding.
Absolutely,
it's possible. It's not often.
It's not often, and it's like, even at that, it's like you're not just doing it for that feeling either. You are also doing it for the bits that feel epic and big.
Sure.
And the furthest thing from independent cinema. You're doing it also for that reason. You're doing it to address the Colosseum at full voice with blood pouring off your face.
Right.
But you're also doing it for the moments where you can find a lane that feels like an avenue to express artistically the way that you want to express.
Are there examples you can think of in films of this type? I mean, you could probably point to the original Gladiator for one, but beyond that, where you've seen performances that have cut through and have felt authentic and grounded, whether you had it in your mind or not, but like that can get past all the bombast and et cetera and still feel as authentic and real as the stuff you do in A Lost Daughter or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure there's brain's going to be straight.
Why are you asking me to think, Josh? Have you seen what
attempts to think thoughts and fails miserably? What are some that jump out to you?
Well, what did you? Okay, so you grew up not
Indiana Jones.
I was going to mention Indiana Jones. That makes sense.
That's a big one. Some of the Star Wars, you've got some like you know, those kind of Daniel Craig and James Bond. Like he's like that stuff really feels like. Yeah. But again, it's still a different muscle. Like I'm not turning on Indiana Jones: Last Crusade and going like, I want, like, even though the performance is fantastic, I'm not looking at that like I would.
Right. It's a different metric.
It's a different metric, but that's the challenge.
Right.
That's the challenge of a big film like this.
How serious do you think? I know you're going to be working with Ridley again, but how serious is he about Gladiator 3? How many actual conversations have you had with him?
I've had, like, I mean this sincerely, I've had about 2 conversations with him, and they've been in an interview context. But like we're hopefully looking at other things that will happen before that. I think the key thing with that is that there can't be any rush with that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Any past castmates you want to enlist? Do we get Andrew Scott in Gladiator gear?
I think we set it in Ireland, and we get Saoirse and Andrew Scott, and we get Jessie, and we get Barry, and we get.
Oh my God, the All-Stars, the Irish All-Stars.
Yeah, we get them all in the mix. Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah.
I spoke to Joe prior to this for A Quiet Place, Joe Quinn.
Yeah.
When I asked him his celebrity doppelganger, he said Daisy Edgar-Jones.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
I think did he say he gets that?
That's a good question.
He gets it, or does he agree with it?
No, I think he said he gets that.
Isn't it such a weird thing that's happening? Like this whole celebrity doppelganger and like all of the, like, it's such a, I don't know. I think there's definitely like resemblances.
Okay.
For sure. But
what were you going to say about the celebrity doppelganger thing? You think it's a strange fascination with it, or strange?
Or just like it's like there's always it's always kind of existed, right?
Sure.
It's always been like, this is who my celebrity look-alike. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I'm literally thinking about this live in my mind about like why that feels odd to me as a thing that has always been there.
Well, I think it's in anything. It's like we're fascinated that there's another version of ourselves in the universe, whether they're celebrity or not. Like we're all unique unicorns,
but then there's other,
But wait, someone.
But there's faces that we see more like frequently than others, and we associate a certain likeness with them.
Yeah.
Weird.
So I know you didn't grow up like a cinephile. You were,
Yeah.
as you said, you were kind of a late bloomer to all
Yeah.
of this. That being said, you watched movies, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, were you a Harry Potter kid? Were you Star Wars? Were you Indiana Jones? Like, what were you into?
Well, my brother was the big Indiana Jones guy, and that got me into it. I mentioned this before, but I loved the film SWAT with Colin Farrell and Samuel L. Jackson. Like, that was kind of my go-to.
Yeah.
Even all the way up to drama school. Like, I remember Dad showing me The Godfathers for the first time.
Sure.
Pre-drama school, like probably 16, 17. And they were the first kind of older films that I was kind of madly impressed with. But it really only came when I was in drama school and knew that I was way behind the ball in terms of
Right.
absorbing films. But having said that, I think it has taught me that, like, for acting, I think it's much more important to me that actors are curious and curious individuals and people, rather than like being well versed in what films you're seeing and all. That all massively helps. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. But to actually
But I
know
think
about the world as opposed to other
know
actors.
about the world and to be curious about the characters you're playing. I think the great thing about watching films and reading plays is that they give you reference points for characters so that you can kind of pick at at certain archetypes.
Sure.
And it's also such an individualized thing. Like, some people, like, 3, 4, 5, and 6 know that they're going to be actors. So, like, and maybe part of it's jealousy for me that I didn't know that. So, like, I'm like still trying to like, I remember being in drama school and pretending that I'd read like Greek mythology and stuff, and I was like, oh yes, Oedipus, of course.
That's a scary road to go down. Too many.
Yeah, it was just lots of nodding and going, yeah, I think I agree with that point. And like, but I kind of played catch up in that sense in drama school.
Do you feel, because like I have a sense from the outside looking and talking to folks week in and week out, there's this wave, there's a new wave of really exciting talent around your age that I'm seeing. A lot of them are Irish, some of them aren't.
Yeah.
Do you feel a kinship with kind of like the Chalamets of the world, the Barry Keoghan, the Austin Butlers? Like, do you feel like I'm part of a wave and this is kind of exciting?
Kinship meaning like an association, or
like it's a
yeah,
cool,
I feel a deep admiration for a lot of those people, because I think also we're coming up, and actually Denzel said this in an interview that we did together recently, like we're coming up in the time of social media, which is it's fucking hell for an actor, like in a purely practical sense.
Sure.
People know so much more about actors now than they did, and I think any actor, be that like Timothy or Austin or Barry or Jessie or Sergio, like all of these actors that I deeply admire, we're operating in a totally different world to the way the actors that came up before us came up.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's probably true of every generation, but I think there's a very stark,
This is the social media part of it has changed. It was like Leo was the last of the wave, it feels like.
Yeah, that feels like about right. And then there's that kind of middle ground, and then
and it's like, for someone your age, it's part of being a human being in a way is to be on social media and to engage with fellow people that age. So it's like, at the same time, it is antithetical to what you do to expose too much of yourself. So it's like,
but it's also like that, I think that's the root of the point that I'm wrestling with at the moment, is wanting to protect the bits of my life, right? And then but also but your responsibility to,
it's part of the job.
To promote a film is to get out and do like a ton of interviews because you're proud of the film, and you also don't want to sit there and be a boring interviewee. But it's like trying to express that both of those things exist. That it's like, it's not that I don't want to be doing interviews. It's that I don't want to be overly literate with people's understanding of who I am. Be that in mannerism, be that in personal life, be that in anything. It's like there comes a It's I wish there was a line in the sand, but it's not that, because it has to move depending on the project that you're
Right.
promoting, you know.
So like, yeah, Leo's like on that extreme end, and he's allowed to be who he is because he kind of like earned that right?
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't have to. He'll do 6 interviews and call it a day, and it's a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. God bless him.
Yeah.
And it's, you know who does it well? Mr. Ryan Gosling, the guy you love.
He's
I feel like he
extraordinary
toes the
at it.
line. He gives
Yeah.
just enough.
Yeah.
And we still don't know that much about Ryan.
Totally. But I think that comes with also experience.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that we're learning on the job, actors in my generation, where it's like, we're learning at a point when there is no reference point for it.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah, you're learning in real time.
We're learning in real time. And
Yeah.
I've made like loads of learnings that I've made from doing this, where it's like, oh, certain things move the needle, other things don't. And that's great to like, it's a shame to have to learn that in real time, but also it's also information is king, I think, in instances like this.
So you've mentioned to me and others, I mentioned Gosling because you've talked a lot about Blue Valentine,
Yeah.
and just the guy's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you broken bread with him? Have you?
I haven't. I saw him at the BAFTAs, and I was sat last year. I was with my sister, and Ryan was like, let's say, 10 rows down. He was far away. Let's say he's the guts of like 60 meters away, and we make eye contact, and Ryan goes like this, points at me, and goes like, "Hey," and I'm making direct eye contact with him, and my sister's here, and I was like, "No, Ryan Gosling is looking at me. He sees me saying that."
I hope he's not a good
He
lip
sees me,
reader.
and he goes, his face goes like, "Huh?" So I seek him out after, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck just happened, or about like 2 hours earlier. I want to apologize, but he was you've interviewed.
Yeah, he's great.
An absolute
He's great.
gentleman,
Yeah.
and like as you said, I think he's a real model for how to navigate the delicate act of promoting a film and trying to be yourself within that.
Yeah.
But as you said, we don't know a lot about what's going on.
And also on the acting side, an amazing actor who can also toggle between. I mean, he came from indies and also has that ability to turn on that movie star thing when he needs to.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
What is the relationship with? So you were obviously nominated for AFTERSUN for the Oscar, which was a big surprise because of just the size of the film. It was not in that world. So what's the relationship with awards? Because then on the flip side, something like All of Us Strangers, I'm still bitter.
Yeah.
Got no love. Our beloved Andrew Scott. What the hell?
God, yeah, no. But I think it's a dangerous thing to ever predict what.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm not going to sit here and be like, it was fucking incredibly exciting to be nominated. I think the context as well, like if it was to ever happen again.
Yeah.
It's very infrequent when you get to like Oscar nominations morning that you're like, you don't already know if it's kind of happened. Whereas with AFTERSUN, we were really like, it's a total. We'd been nominated for a couple of like ones beforehand, hadn't been nominated for others. So we were like, I don't know how many members of the Academy have seen this or how many even know that the film exists. But I think on a like purely artistic level, what that genre and sort of film means to me is everything. Like that's if everything else, if this whole industry folded on itself and I had to choose what was left, that kind of film making style would be what I would choose, hands down. And that's no slight on anything else. That's just exactly that's a taste, right? So for that to be the thing that broke through for me in a kind of Academy context, like if it was to ever happen again, that will always be the moment where I'm like, it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. What's your relationship with the ending of All of Us Strangers? Because a lot of us that saw it, that was like the movie that everybody sat through the credits to process what had just happened.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, I don't know if you knew Harry's fate when you started to read that script or not.
I didn't. Yeah. So when I got to that on the page, I was like,
it wrecked you just like it did everybody
there
else.
was like a couple of instances throughout where I was like, oh, okay. But I think the way that it was written, for anybody who hasn't seen All of Us Strangers, I'm sorry, but Harry is dead. Harry doesn't exist after the first time that we meet him.
Yeah.
But it's not so much just the ending. I think when you're watching somebody again in real time who you love and admire, this the way that I love and admire Andrew Scott, it's a really moving experience regardless of the actual story. When you're watching someone deliver that kind of performance. And that's where my kind of separation with like awards bodies, it does separate. I'm like, at that point, who fucking cares? If you've delivered that performance, that's gonna last.
You can't take that away.
That's forever. That's a forever performance. Of course, I wanted that for him more than I wanted anything for any other actor. I was like, please, for the love of God. But having said that, that's not that can never. And I think most actors would agree with this. That's never the thing. It's a nice,
cool,
and an incredibly exciting thing to be a part of. But you want the performance to stand the test of time rather than the number of awards that you're nominated for or win at the end of the day.
I think of that ending also just because of the use of a song, and I think it's one of the best uses of a song at the end of the film.
Great.
Do you have a favorite like song used in a film, like a moment tied to a piece of music that you can think of? Again, I know, long press tour. This is the kind of questions like, Josh, don't make.
Do you know, because it's in my head. I think what Charlotte did with Under Pressure is
that's great. Yeah,
because also I learned a lot about the kind of filmmaking process and that because I was so close to something so small and so mobile that I was like, how they got the rights for a Queen song and then to strip away all the instrumentation and for the estate to agree to it and to get it for the amount of money that they got it for with it, like I was like, that's a feat of producing as well on top of what Charlotte did with it.
So we talked before about, again, you're not chasing these kinds of films that you just did, Gladiator. That being said, like, are there filmmakers that are operating on that scale that you answer the phone very quickly to? Is it the Denis and the Nolans and
Denis? Like I feel like Denis, like you've named them, and Sam and people like that, like who do large scale. Like I found the first Dune and the second Dune to be like a real feat and performance and everything, but like the direction of those films is like so singular and brilliant.
His work, I mean, Arrival, I think, still stands as like one of like the greats.
I love Prisoners.
They're all great.
Prisoners is so good.
If the internet is to be believed, and when can we not believe the internet? Let's be real. It's always true. Did you have conversations? Did it intrigue you at any point? Your buddy Pedro is playing Mr. Fantastic. Did you have that conversation with Marvel? It sounds like you were in that conversation.
No. That was no. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where are you at with that kind of thing?
I don't think it's for. It's not for me. Nothing. I think if I wasn't brought up watching those films, I wasn't drawn to them in the. Like I was a kind of more like a Lord of the Rings guy, in that sense. Like so they weren't films that I was drawn to.
So you want to be a Hobbit, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, please put me in the game, coach.
We were talking before we started. I missed you in Streetcar, but I'm not going to miss you again because
please don't.
You're coming to New York. I'm very excited about this.
I can't fucking wait.
So is it a coincidence? Like you were doing Streetcar right before Gladiator. You're doing it right out of it. This is a nice kind of bookend. This is kind of like
bookend, but it's a bookend, but it's like you don't come across writing like that frequently, and especially like that character and the fact that we've done it before, but we haven't brought it to New York. Take a play like that into the like something felt incomplete to me in the sense that we haven't even though it's a very short run in New York. If you're doing a Tennessee Williams, you want to take it into the Lions Den and see how it fares, and also I just love being on stage and hopefully the plan would be in the next 2 years to like dedicate like the guts of it to whatever those plays may be, but like to really separate from the kind of cycle of making films, promoting films. I think getting back on stage is like for a longer period of time, I think would be is high on the list of priorities.
It is a short run. It's at BAM.
Yeah, we're doing 3 weeks in the Noel Coward in London and then 5 in BAM.
Got it. So not enough time for the Broadway run, or is that something at some point?
No, I don't think that. No.
It'll be a hot ticket, so put a good word in for me, please.
Look, we'll sort you. I'll definitely sort you out with that. Yeah.
Are you one of those actors that has kind of like the list of roles that you want to do on the stage?
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
Hopefully, one of them. I'm definitely not saying it. But
Plays, musicals, both?
Plays at the I both, but the plays, it would be plays.
Okay.
There's 2 kind of floating around that are close to happening.
It's interesting, like I think of someone like Stanley, this archetypal masculine role, similarly Lucius on one end of the spectrum as well. And then I think of things like All the Strangers and these romances that you've done. You've done something with Josh O'Connell as well, O'Connor coming up. Does that fascinate you, kind of like exploring all the aspects of masculinity?
Oh, I just mean like, I don't know, like, I think I have a fair idea who I am, but I don't really know who I am fully. So it's like, I don't know if it would be, I don't think it would be, I wouldn't find it remotely interesting to kind of operate just in one type of man or person. But I think I've seen History of Sound, and
This is the one with Josh.
This is the one with Josh.
Yeah.
And I'm like in love with the film.
Yeah.
And what Josh and Oliver Hermanas, our director, did with it. It's like, you know, when you make a film and it's exactly what you set out to, or when you fall in love with the screenplay and the screenplay, you know what I mean? When the thing is actualized in a way that
Which
you want
is, as you well know, is very difficult,
really
never
difficult.
happens.
Yeah, so it kind of alleviates any pressure of like reception.
Yeah.
In my head, at least,
Yeah.
I'm just like, well,
First stage is done. I satisfied.
That's what we
the
set
task.
out. That's what we set out to make as a group of creatives. So it's like,
Speaking of, are you a producer on it? Is that the first time you've?
yeah,
Is that? I mean, what's that about for you right now? Just
it's. I mean, myself and Oliver stuck with that for 5 years to get it made. So like,
wow.
Whatever actors do in a producerial context, like it's a fully grey area. But for me, it was about sticking with it, and also, I think Oliver would say, or I think between the writer Ben Shattuck and Oliver and myself and Josh, we're the people in the world that know that story the best. So it would be like, but in terms of a practical day-to-day thing, it was just acting. There's enough on my plate with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard you in another conversation talking about Merrily and how Richard doesn't want you talking about Merrily for the next 20 years. But I do want to ask, because it's a fascinating project, let's be real.
Yeah.
Merrily We Roll Along, you're shooting this over 15, 20 years with the great Richard Linklater. And by nature of this story, and I love the recent Broadway production, so you've shot the ending first, essentially.
Because of the way that we've shot the ending.
So what was that like for you as an actor to approach something that you know you're not going to complete for 15, 20 years?
I'm not going to see that until it's done. It's a really amazing, like,
what a
time
crazy
capsule
once in a
experience.
lifetime. Yeah.
Like, I think, not to get into it too much, but I think it'll be a really interesting thing on a personal level to like watch it back in 20 years' time, being like, when we were shooting this, that was what was going on in life, and when we did this, and God, and then I'll be like, oh, that was just before I was going into Gladiator, so I was like big or something. I don't know. It'll be, I think it's as you said, it's a really special style of filmmaking, and it's with kind of the king of that style in Richard Linklater.
Unbelievable. And it'll be a constant. It'll be kind of like the closest thing to a day job over the next
At
portion.
least
Like
he's stuck with me, you know.
stuck with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
You've a few other things in the can. I just want to mention. You mentioned Jessie Buckley.
Yeah.
One of my favorite podcasts in recent memory was Jessie and Olivia Colman together, which was like 45 minutes of just insanity.
That
Those two
makes sense to me. Yeah.
You have experience with
Yeah.
both. And this is Chloe Zhao.
This is Chloe Zhao, the great Chloe Zhao. Yeah.
You're playing Shakespeare. This is kind of a take on.
It's Agnes's story. It's about essentially Agnes is the central character, and it's about their marriage and relationship. And it's based on a book, so it's not.
Yeah.
The information on what the project is about is there, but I love those two women with all, like they went to like a really deep place with it, and I haven't seen any of it, but that's another one where I'm like, I don't really fucking care what anybody thinks about that because it was like, and like it's gonna, I'll be back in that kind of like feeling disingenuous phase next year, I feel like, but those two films in particular took a lot out of me.
Yeah.
You know, they were close to the bone and far away, and both processes were like really challenging and rewarding, but like rinsed me. Is there some kind of fun symmetry? I asked Daisy the same question when she was promoting Twisters.
Yeah. You both kind of like had these crazy opportunities this year, this evolution
insane.
of your careers. You must have checked in with each other, like, hey.
I was just in awe, like having done this part of the job now, I'm in awe of how she navigated that. So like, because like you look at it from the outside, and I was like, Daisy's making this look easy,
right?
And I can hold my hand up, and I don't think I'm doing my best, but it's not. I'm not finding this bit is. Not to say that she found it easy, but I think it's a really moving thing to see your friend operate at that level, both in terms of performance, but also in terms of the kind of like diligent professionalism that is required to like be yourself within this. Like, she's just extraordinary.
I'll wrap up in a second. I know you've been talking a lot, but just I'm curious, like, again, kind of coming full circle. I mean, the pressure now, in a weird way, you know, always talk about the pressure of doing films like Gladiator, but like, I'm always fascinated by that pivot in a career when you start to get the opportunity to choose. For 99% of actors, it's take whatever the hell that you can have.
Yeah.
So are you, because you're right now in this such an exciting opportunity for any actor would envy.
Yeah.
What's the rule of thumb? Do you feel self-imposed pressure to like, kind of like, I need to like, I have some collateral right now. I have some juice.
No, I mean, like if I'm being honest, I kind of know what my dance card is for the next
Sounds like you do.
for the next little while. So
that takes the worry of choice out of it.
But that's always just been the way that I've, like, look, I've had dance cards for a certain amount of time, and certain things fall away. So it's never really fixed. But I haven't played the game of like, let's make something, see if it sticks, and see what opportunities come my way. It's like I've had a real privilege to be looking at scripts and talking to filmmakers over the last, since Normal People, essentially.
Yeah.
So I just wish there was more time. I just wish there was more time to find out where I can do all of these things, but
you're just getting started. You got a lot of time ahead. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to end with the happy, sad, confused, profoundly random questions for you. Right. Dogs or cats?
Dogs. Sorry, cat people.
That's okay.
Not really sorry. I mean,
I'm a dog person.
You're a dog person. Good.
It's the correct answer.
What do you think? The only answer.
What do you collect, if anything?
What do I collect? I've started collecting. I've started journaling much more. So like, that's going to be something to collect. That's a collector's thing, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's the wallpaper on your phone?
A picture of friends.
It's my dog. Just
It's
so
your
you know.
dog,
It's
yeah.
not my wife. It's my
Yeah.
dog. It's the kind of priorities I have in my life. Last actor. Actually, this is full circle. Last actor you were mistaken for.
Last actor I was mistaken for. Why is this? Oh,
Because we
what
talked
were
earlier.
talking
Yeah.
about. Fuck. What? What was the last actor?
Someone show you a headshot, say, "Oh, sign this. That's not me."
No, I haven't had. I don't think I have had.
This is
Those.
you're a unicorn. There's only one Paul Mescal.
Or if I do, my brain's not working. Probably the latter.
Let's go with the former.
Richard Harris.
Richard Harris?
Or Ridley says that I look like Richard Harris. So I haven't been mistaken for him. It's just Ridley thinks that I look like him. So it's a different question.
No, but I get it. I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Worst note a director has ever given you?
Worst note a director. I've been really lucky with the directors.
Yeah, I was looking at
Oh,
the
I
film.
had a director say take. Ooh, fucking terrible note. He told me to take. I wasn't wearing a suit, and he was like, "Take your suit off." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Take it off. Whatever you're wearing, take it off." Like not literally.
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically, and I was like, "What does it like? Shut up." Shut up. Although, having said that, that was a really big moment for me. I was like, oh, I get now that sometimes you have to be.
Oh, big moment in that you
Big
talked
moment
about. You could
in that, like,
speak
it
up and say-
changed. I'm incredibly great because there was no malice in the note. It was more so that I was like, oh, I've got to take more agency with.
Yeah.
If I don't fucking like something,
Right.
it's okay because it's not personal.
Right.
I'm just like, that's a.
This
In
is
my
a
head, I'm like,
dialogue
that's a
back and forth.
terrible
You're not
note.
just taking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of happy, sad, confused, an actor that always makes you happy. You see them on screen, you're happy.
Happy.
Go to your happy place, Paul.
Go to my happy place.
This is the body language.
Tom Hanks makes me happy when I see him on screen.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's your top Hanks? Are you a Turner and Hooch man? Are you a
Yeah, Turner and Hooch. What did I see? No, do you know what I'm actually going to say? I love Tom Hanks, but do you know who makes me happy in a perverse way is whenever I see Anthony Hopkins on the screen, I'm just like,
dialed in? Perfection.
This is perfection. This is perfection. I think he's just the best actor.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah,
that collab happen.
Please.
Movie that makes you sad. I think I know the answer.
Yeah,
here.
Blue Valentine
Blue
makes me sad.
And finally, a food that makes you confused, Paul. You don't get it.
Olives.
I hate olives too.
I don't. It's not that it doesn't actually make me confused. I'm very clear in my hatred of them. But
No
I'm
dirty
confused
martinis for
when I
you.
see martinis are confusing to me. They taste like paint stripper
Right.
with olives on top. I'm like, what are we?
Madness.
Absolute madness. So olives and martinis.
What's the drink of choice?
At the moment, it's like a mezcal margarita on the sweet side. Do you know Tommy's style?
Oh yes, I think I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
A lot of Americans, even though I think it's an American style martini.
Yeah.
A sweet mezcal margarita.
Okay.
No salt.
Well, very specific.
Yeah. It sounds way less
someone needs
sophisticated
one
than a
after this press
martini.
tour.
It's like, can I get a martini? I'll be like, can I get a really sweet cocktail with no salt?
Paul and I are going to get some sweet margaritas after this. Congratulations, man. Thank you for making
Thanks,
the time on
dude.
this crazy
No,
run.
not
I
at all.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I'll see you in Brooklyn.
See you in Brooklyn.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
And so ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.